The Guest of the Night. In a small Bengali village called Chandanpur, there stood an old, decaying two-story house known as the Ray Mansion. The locals believed that the house wasn't abandoned, it was alive. Every last night of the month, a dim red light would glow through the cracked window on the second floor. People said it was cursed. Nobody ever dared to go near it after dark. But one day, a journalist from the city named Rafiqul Islam decided to uncover the truth. Armed with a flashlight and a camera, he entered the Ray Mansion at exactly 11 o'clock that night. The air inside felt thick and damp, as though someone, or something, was breathing alongside him. The first floor was empty, only filled with dust, cobwebs, and silence. But as soon as he started climbing the old wooden staircase, he heard the sound of slow footsteps above him. Tuck, tuck, tuck. The echo of each step made his heart pound harder. At the end of the hallway, one of the doors was slightly open. A strange reddish light flickered from within. Rafiqul hesitated for a moment, then pushed the door gently open. Inside, he found a large cracked mirror standing in the corner of the room. But what he saw in that mirror made his blood freeze. The reflection wasn't his own. Staring back at him was a woman, pale as ash, her long, wet hair sticking to her face, lips dry and cracked, eyes hollow and empty. "You shouldn't have come." The words came from the mirror itself. The voice was cold, echoing, and filled with sorrow. Rafiqul stumbled backward, but the door behind him slammed shut on its own. The woman in the mirror slowly raised her hand, and, to his horror, that same hand started to emerge from the glass. A cold, bloody hand, real, trembling, alive, reached out and touched his neck. The next morning, villagers passing by heard a sharp crash of breaking glass echoing from inside the Ray Mansion. But no one dared to enter. A week later, a child playing near the old house found a broken camera lying in the grass. The film inside had only one remaining photo. In that final picture, Rafiqul's face was twisted in terror, eyes wide open in fear. And behind him stood the same ghostly woman, her blood-red eyes staring straight into the camera lens, as if she knew someone else would look at her one day. 3 months passed after Rafiqul's disappearance. The villagers of Chandanpur avoided the Ray Mansion completely. Even in daylight, people crossed the road rather than walk past it. The house stood silent, but sometimes, at midnight, a faint red glow could still be seen through the cracked window. Then, one afternoon, a young historian named Ananya Rahman arrived in the village. She had read about Rafiqul's case and wanted to investigate it for her upcoming book on Haunted Legends of Bengal. The villagers tried to stop her. "That house takes people," they warned, but Ananya was determined. She entered the Ray Mansion at dusk, her notebook in one hand and her phone flashlight in the other. Dust floated like mist through the air. The silence was heavy, pressing against her ears. She called out softly, "Rafiqul Islam, if you're here, give me a sign." Nothing replied, but as she moved deeper inside, she noticed the walls. They were covered in faint scratches, letters, names, and dates. One name appeared again and again: Reena Ray. Ananya suddenly remembered something. Decades ago, a woman named Reena Ray had lived there, daughter of the landlord, famous for her beauty. But villagers said she had drowned in the pond behind the house on her wedding night. Some whispered that her death wasn't an accident. Ananya climbed to the second floor, her heart beating faster with every step. The same broken mirror still stood in the corner, covered in a thin layer of dust. The surface shimmered faintly, as if breathing. She wiped it gently and froze. Her reflection smiled back at her, but she wasn't smiling. The image blinked twice, then whispered, "You came back." Ananya stumbled backward. "Who are you?" she demanded. The voice from the mirror replied, "I am Reena, and you are standing where he left me to die." A rush of memories not her own flashed in Ananya's mind. Rena's laughter, her wedding night, the betrayal of a jealous finance, the cold hands pushing her into the dark pond. The mirror glowed red. Rena's reflection looked desperate now. He promised to love me forever, but instead he cursed me here. I can only be free if someone sees my death through their eyes. Ananya realized the truth. Rafikul's camera, his last photograph, had captured Rena's spirit trying to escape. But instead of freeing her, it trapped her deeper inside the mirror, between life and death. The house began to tremble. The glass cracked, spiderweb lines spreading across the mirror. Rena's voice screamed, "Help me!" Ananya reached forward instinctively, and her fingers touched the surface. The coldness shot up her arm. Suddenly, the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces. A sharp flash of red light filled the room. Then, silence. When the villagers entered the house days later, they found only one thing on the floor: a broken notebook, its last written words saying, "It had been 10 long years since the last incident at the Ray Mansion." The house now stood in ruins, walls collapsed, vines crawling over broken windows. Villagers said the curse had ended the night the red light vanished. Nobody dared to rebuild it. They wanted the past to rot and disappear. But fate had other plans. One day, a young antique collector named Arif Chowdhury arrived in Chandanpur. He was fascinated by haunted relics and historical artifacts. While exploring the remains of the Ray Mansion, he discovered a small wooden box buried beneath the rubble. Inside the box lay a shard of glass, faintly glowing red under the dust. Intrigued, Arif took it home to his workshop in Dhaka. That night, as he cleaned the glass fragment under the lamp, he noticed something. His reflection wasn't quite right. It blinked a second later than he did. He laughed it off as exhaustion. But when he turned off the lights to sleep, he heard a whisper in the darkness. "Arif." He froze. The voice was soft, female, trembling like a sigh. He looked around. No one was there. The shard of glass on his desk glimmered faintly red. Over the next few days, Arif became obsessed. He researched the story of Rina Ray and found Ananya Rahman's missing notebook fragments. One line caught his eye. "The curse lies in every reflection that remembers her." Determined to reconstruct the mirror, Arif gathered old photos of the mansion and carefully fitted the shard into a new frame. The night he finished it, a cold wind swept through his room, though every window was closed. His reflection smiled back, but he hadn't moved his lips. Then she spoke. "You found me." It was Rina Ray, her pale face glowing faintly behind the glass. Arif whispered, trembling, "I can free you." But Rina shook her head slowly. "No one frees me. They become me." The mirror surface rippled like water. Arif stepped back, but a hand, white, wet, and cold, burst out, grabbing his wrist. He screamed, trying to pull away, but his body was already turning pale, his eyes hollowing. The reflection smiled wider, while Arif's real body stiffened. Then, with a sudden flicker, his soul vanished into the mirror. The next morning, his assistant found the mirror standing perfectly still, clean and bright. Inside, two reflections looked out, a man and a woman, both smiling faintly, trapped forever. That night, when the assistant switched off the lights, the red glow filled the room, and from the glass came a soft whisper, "The guest has arrived."